Weka kando, sisi tuende Kasarani, tuapishwe, tuendelee na kazi ya kujenga taifa letu la Kenya.
Jubilee dares Raila to boycott election as leaders scale up campaigns.
Chilomba hawezi kuwa mchungaji wa kura zetu. Mpaka Chilomba aende wapi? Baba atanituma kwa Tobiko Jumatatu. Napeleka ushahidi chungu nzima ya kuonyesha kwamba Uhuru na Ruto lazima wachunguzwe kwa hiyo wizi.
NASA now says IEBC CEO must go to guarantee fair polls. Riruta grannies make good earnings selling traditional baskets as the plastic bags ban takes effect.
I thought if I tell my husband about it, the first thing that will happen is he will start telling me, you are not able to do this and so on. So I did it secretly.
Rehabilitating alcoholics, a teacher's second calling, the story of Elizabeth Koimet on Women and Power. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Victoria Rubadiri. Our sign language interpreter this evening is David Agondoa. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee Party has dared Raila Odinga to boycott the October 17th presidential election. The president says the NASA candidate isn't ready for the election and is employing delaying tactics to force a power-sharing agreement. He spoke as he campaigned in the capital city, Nairobi, for the 17th of October repeat election.
A week after the presidential election of August 8th was nullified, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Jubilee Party are hitting the campaign trail hard. Today they painted Uhuru Park in the party colors, and it was a more settled president who stood to ask for the electorate's presidential vote for a second time in as many months.
Hata kama tuko na uchungu, kwa sababu tuwataka amani, kwa sababu tuwataka umoja, na kwa sababu tuwajua hata tukirudia mtihani, yule Mwenyezi Mungu alituongoza safari ya kwanza bado tuko naye, na Wakenya wale tulikuwa nao bado tuko nao. Tutarudia mtihani, tutafanya bidii na tutashinda na marks nyingi zaidi hata kutoka safari.
President Uhuru Kenyatta insisting that he won the election fairly, but that victory was snatched from them by the Supreme Court. He, however, says his party is confident of returning an even more favorable result the second time round, a feat he says the opposition cannot manage.
Kwa wapinzani wetu, wacheni vitisho. Mumesema mumeibiwa. Mulikataa. Tuende tufungue masanduku tuhesabu. Sasa mwatuambia ati masharti ni yenu. Hakuna masharti ya mtu.
While the president struck a markedly subtle tone from the one he had on the day of the nullification of the results, his deputy was as bullish as before. He faulted the Supreme Court over its decision.
We want to tell our Supreme Court from Uhuru Park, we are watching you, my friends. The Supreme Court of Kenya was used by conmen. They conspired through treachery, conmanship, and deceit to shortchange and subvert and overturn the will of 15 million Kenyans.
Then he trained his eyes on the internal wrangles within the IEBC, and in particular attention was reserved for the chairman, Wafula Chebukati. The Jubilee leaders also chided their NASA opponents on their fundraising venture, terming it as proof that they were in collusion with the previous Nairobi County government to loot resources.
Niliona mengine jana. Unataka nikuambie ni kwa nini? Kwa sababu hiyo milioni 17 na hiyo milioni shilingi 40 million difference ndio wenzetu walikuwa wanaweka kwa mifuko yao na kukula mali ya wananchi, kufanya siasa yao ya dhambi. Na ndipo jana mumeanza kuona wenzetu wakichukua pay bill number, kwa sababu sasa pesa ya umma imepotea. Sasa wameanza kusanya pesa ya wananchi.
While both the parties, Jubilee and NASA, are still looking for the votes that will decide the country's next president, President Uhuru Kenyatta maintains that Raila Odinga should know his place in the pecking order as it stands now.
Candidate Raila Amolo Odinga, ujue ya kwamba yale nimenena kama rais Uhuru
The Jubilee team says this is just the start of a rejuvenated campaign that they hope will return the president and his deputy to State House. Brenda Wanga, NTV, Nairobi.
And NASA leaders now say IEBC Chief Executive Ezra Chiloba must go if they are to participate in the October 17th election. Chiloba's exit is among the issues NASA wants addressed ahead of the repeat election. Well, this comes 2 days after IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati sent a memo to Chiloba demanding an explanation on irregularities registered on the IEBC servers during the transmission of the August election results. Bridget Sangana was on the NASA campaign trail and has the story.
NASA's two-day vote hunting mission in the South Rift region began in Narok County as they made stops in Ewasonyiro, Narok Town and Ntulele, where they said IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba is unfit to oversee the October 17th presidential election.
Chiloba hawezi kuwa mchungaji wa kura zetu. Mpaka Chiloba aende wapi? Na wezi wenzake wote waende nyumbani. Chiloba ni mtu wa kutumwa. Chiloba si mwizi mwenyewe. Yeye alikuwa naiba kwa niaba ya watu fulani. Na mimi nimesema ya kwamba baba atanituma kwa Tobiko Jumatatu. Napeleka ushahidi chungu nzima ya kuonyesha ya kwamba Uhuru na Ruto lazima wachunguze kwa hiyo wizi.
NASA insisting that the decision by the Supreme Court granting them another shot at the presidency was an indication that they had won the August election.
Tumeandika barua kwa serikali ya Ufaransa watuambie ile kampuni ambayo ilitumiwa kurusha zile results za bandia. Tunataka tujue msimamo wa serikali ya Fransa ni nini kuhujumu demokrasia ya Wakenya.
Tunaambia Uhuru Kenyatta, kabla wewe hujaadhibu wale majaji, Wakenya wataadhibu wewe. Watakupeleka nyumbani. Tunani wako tayari kupeleka Uhuru nyumbani ama kwa tunataka mara hii muonyesha adabu kweli kweli. Vile mlifanya mara ile. Tulimshinda na zaidi ya kura 1,500,000. Sasa tunakuwa izidi zaidi ya 3,000,000. Sasa
NASA leaders say the Jubilee leadership has set a bad precedent for the country through corruption, and NASA was ready to clean up house.
Ukiweka Uhuru hapa na uweke Ruto hapa na uweke Maraga hapa na Mwilu hapa na Lenaola na Wanjala na muende sokoni muulize kipofu kati ya watu wanne na wawili wakura ni kina nani, wanasema ni nani? Tulisema hapa Narok tutajenga industrial park pale ambapo tutakuwa na mtambo, tutakuwa na vifaa Itakuwa ni mahali ya kufundisha vijana na pesa vijana kuanza biashara kazi yao huko ndani.
On Sunday, NASA heads to Kajiado County in its bid to galvanize the Maa community's backing at the presidential election that is just 37 days away.
Raila Odinga leaves Narok County a confident man that this is still his stronghold, and he expects to garner the more than 300,000 votes from here. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Narok County.
Now, in this season of political realignments, a section of community leaders, elected leaders, and the business community from Ukambani have now pledged support for President Uhuru Kenyatta's re-election, led by former Kitui Senator David Musila. The about 3,000 leaders from Machakos, Makueni, and Kitui said they will aggressively campaign for President Kenyatta in the region that is considered an opposition stronghold. They also called on the Electoral Commission to clean up its house and ensure it's ready to preside over a fair and credible repeat poll. The leaders included elected MPs, MCAs, representatives of the business community, and members of the clergy.
Tarehe 17 mwezi huu tunao sasa Oktoba, tarehe 17 Oktoba ndio sasa tujitokeze kama community tuseme tumeona mbele. We are no longer going to wait every 5 years promises which never materialize.
Kiongozi Kalonzo, I know is not even comfortable hapo kwa NASA, kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe amenaswa mara kama 3. Kwa sababu tukiwa na Musila, Senator Musila 2012 kulikuwa MOU ilisema Kalonzo ndiye atakuwa presidential candidate 2017. Muliona vile ilichezwa.
To reaffirm our commitment to be in government and to disagree very strongly with the leaders who want to continue keeping us in the opposition, despite the fact that they did not achieve much for the community when they were in power all those years.
And campaigns for the presidential race are gaining momentum in Bungoma as politicians from both NASA and Jubilee parties traverse the county in the hunt for votes. The politicians attended several funeral ceremonies on Saturday where they called on voters in Bungoma to back their candidates of choice ahead of the October 17th election. Zacchaeus Masame reports from Bungoma.
NASA co-principal and Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula addressed residents during several funerals in Bungoma. In Matulo in Webuye West constituency, Wetangula, who was accompanied by several elected leaders from Ford, Kenya, urged the voters in the Western region nation to vote the NASA way to redeem the image of the community, largely perceived to be divided at the moment. The Ford Kenya party leader is optimistic of NASA win in the coming election.
Sisi tumeungana na Musalia na jamii ya Mulembe. Sasa hatuna waziwazi. Kutoka Maragoli tuko na governor wa NASA. Kakamega tuko na governor wa NASA. Busia tuko na governor wa NASA. Bungoma tuko na governor wa NASA. Trans Nzoia tuko na governor wa NASA. Sasa tutatembea tu kusema NASA hawa, hakuna cha kurudi nyuma. Lazima twende tukomboe inji yetu.
He criticized the government for what he claims is an attempt to deny the elderly a chance to vote.
Hapa Bungoma tumesikia wanatembea kuchukua vipande ya wazee wakiwadanganya ya kwamba wanaenda kuandika majina ili wawaletee pesa ya wazee. Msikubali hiyo kwa sababu inakunyang'anya nafasi yako ya kupiga kura.
Kwa kama wewe you are a leader in this county, you are a public servant in this county, and you are leading the process of buying ID cards from our people in Bungoma County, I want to tell you that your days are numbered in Bungoma County.
But Webuye West legislator Dan Wanyama took the Jubilee agenda to the funeral. Wanyama said the Jubilee government has already done enough to deserve another term in office.
Usikuje kugawanyishwa kwa sababu ya mirengo ya kisiasa. Na nataka kusema hivyo, na niwasihi wale ambao watanisikiza na wale ambao wananisikia kwamba mimi nawasihi na pia wenzetu waombe hii kura kwa unyenyekevu.
The Jubilee Party managed to get 4 MPs in Bungoma County, with Ford Kenya taking the governor's seat. Zakis Masame, NTV, Bungoma.
And a raft of radical measures is set to begin at Nairobi City Hall as the county government plans to go cashless in revenue collection in a bid to tame corruption. Well, top-level managers are being probed for fraud as City Hall launches a new recruitment drive from tomorrow. The county says it has been losing over 4 million shillings every day. Now, all county executive committee members and chief officers will be sent on compulsory leave, according to a report seen by NTV. Dennis Okari now reports.
Affairs at City Hall have always been clouded by a litany of illegalities when it comes to revenue collection. The cash management system has been replete with irregularities in numerous reports done by investigating agencies.
We have 2 banks, Family Bank and Cooperative Bank, in City Hall Annex, and they have branches there. Why would Nairobians be pushed to come and bank in cash at a cash office here, rather than go and put the money into our revenue accounts?
So, the county government plans to introduce a digital system of collecting revenue to stop the leakage at the cash office. 14 revenue streams have already been digitized.
When we came on the first day, they had only collected 5 million. And the last 3 days, we've been collecting an average of 37 million every day, just in this one location. Imagine when we get done with 138 locations.
The new changes may have been too abrupt for some who have been waiting for many hours standing in queues.
We know,
3 hours without lunch.
We know there's resistance because they wanted you to be banking the cash here, and we've changed into financial banking, and I know that's not your problem.
Which is
that's
wonderful.
Why you're
No, we
very
appreciate it. I think
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
So bear with us. By tomorrow, I promise you.
The county government says there will be no more queues in 2 weeks. A brief report prepared by county executive officials and chief officers reveals the rot at City Hall. The finance department has been operating with no asset register, with massive revenue leakages of up to 100 million Kenya shillings. 14 billion was spent contrary to the Public Finance Management Act. There was about 1 billion Kenya shillings land rates defaulters, and the legal department spent over their allocated budget in excess of 1 billion Kenya shillings from the allocated budget of 100 million. Under the governor and the deputy governor's office, 16 million Kenya shillings was paid to Manchester outfitters for uniforms that were never delivered.
I've never seen government prepay 16 million to somebody for uniforms.
In the physical planning department, 205 million shillings was not collected in advertising fees, as 17.7 billion in statutory deductions was not remitted to the public service management. The report proposes drastic steps and a purge has been announced.
Tomorrow you will see we are advertising for positions, for all positions in Nairobi County.
A team of investigators from the Director of Criminal Investigations have been visiting various departments, and so far 7 officials have been taken to court to face charges of abuse of office. Dennis Okari, NTV.
All right, we're taking a short break here on Decision 2017. Stay tuned, though. I have a discussion on the IEBC and the campaigns with Kericho Senator Aaron Cheriot and Suna East MP Junet Mohammed after the break. Also coming up, how a road in Isli has become a stream of effluent. Welcome back. Now, broken sewage pipes in California Ward Kamkunji constituency are endangering the lives of residents and inconveniencing their operations. The county and national governments have been called upon in coordination with the Nairobi Water Sewerage Company to resolve the problem, which is deteriorating. Joshua Mokaya with the details.
Here in Barichuba Road, Kamkunji constituency, the roads are almost impassable with only lorries being able to force their way through the filthy sewage. Business people along the road have lost their customers as they cannot access their areas of business. The sewage flows from one of the buildings in the area and due to poor drainage has taken the better part of the road. Residents claim they are reported not only to the landlord, but also to Nairobi County Government and the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company, but they have not come to their aid.
Hata tenant wangu kwa sababu 3 weeks wamekuwa wakisumbuka na harufu ya maji. Imesemekana waliambia sasa watabidi wahame kwa sababu hii sewage imewadhuru watoto wao, wengine wameanza kuendesha kwa sababu ya harufu mbaya.
Hii maji imetuaffect hata sisi hatuna customer, umbu zimekuwa mingi, hii sewage inaingililia ndani.
The residents are fearing for their lives with the nearby hotels that operate in the town being at risk. Breeding of mosquitoes has also got out of hand and the cases of malaria infections are alarming.
Kwa miezi moja sahi tuko ndani ya sewage. Alafu watoto wanakuwa mgonjwa, tunapata mgonjwa wa tumbo, tunapeleka hospitali na mambo ati infection yote inatoka hapa.
Tunalitaka kuuliza serikali as long haijali masilahi ya mwananchi na wanasema kwamba wako pamoja na sisi, wao wanafikiria vipi kama binadamu anaishi mahali kama hapa? Sasa ndiko ninasema tunaomba serikali iangalie pia masilahi ya ndani ya mizizi ya mashinani hivi, kwa sababu kuna matatizo kama hapa, kama maji inaenda paka imeaffect paka huko chini section 3.
Children too are at peril as they cannot walk through the sewage to school, since some of the school vans cannot access their homes and pick them.
Sisi pia tuko na shida, hatuna mahali ya kuchezea, tuko kwa nyumba for miezi moja, tunataka serikali atusaidie sana.
Almost a month now, and residents of Barichuba Ward, California Estate have expressed their utmost woes to the government and more so pointing out to Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company to come and avert a solution to a problem that has been inconveniencing them on their daily basis. Joshua Mokaya, NTV.
All right, let's shift our conversation to politics. Both NASA and Jubilee were campaigning today in Narok and in Nairobi. Joining me in studio now are Asuna East MP Junet Mohammed and Kericho Senator Aaron Cheriot. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in.
Thank you.
Honorable Junet, let me start with you,
yes,
because Raila today said that they want Chiloba out.
Yes.
Before, he said he wanted an entire overhaul of the IEBC. So is he insinuating that Chiloba is the only problem in the IEBC right now?
No, not really. You see, what happened is that when he did his petition at the Supreme Court, the ruling was against IEBC. And Chiloba is the CEO of the IEBC. So he should take first responsibility among others. But there are many of them that are culprits of that bad election that happened on 8th of August. So he didn't want to mention everyone, but he was mentioning Chiloba in the aspect of being the CEO of the organization. Yeah.
So does it mean that the IEBC as currently constituted minus Chiloba is okay with NASA?
Not at all. The IEBC did not conduct, as a body, did not conduct free and fair elections in August 2017. What was the respondent at the court was IEBC and Chebukati as the returning officer for the presidential election. So we are discussing IEBC as an institution, IEBC as an organization, because there are people, returning officers who messed at the grassroots level in the counties. There are people who messed up at the headquarters here in terms of ICT, in terms of logistics. So the whole place is rotten, and I think it was by design. It was never by default. But he was singling out Chiloba being the CEO of the organization.
Why not Chebukati? Because he seems to sit higher than Chiloba.
You see, in the end, it will go there because as for now, Chiloba is the CEO, and Chebukati has written a memo to him to explain certain things that have gone wrong. Up to today, Chiloba has not responded to that memo. So everybody will take responsibility, whether he's a commissioner, whether he works at the secretariat. whoever person that played a role in the elections will take responsibility.
Okay, Senator, where does Jubilee stand on this with the IEBC? Are they comfortable with the IEBC as it's constituted?
Well, we're not fully comfortable, but that begs a question. You know, there are things that when you say Victoria, people begin to imagine that Jubilee is raising conspiracy theories. You do remember that NASA a few days ago gave us a list of IEBC officials that they felt need to be indicted before we go to the next election. And the question as Jubilee, the question that we asked as Jubilee then is that could there be a possibility that NASA already knows what the full judgment will be? Because as we stand today, nobody has had a look at the full judgment from the Supreme Court. Right. Could there be a possibility that these guys in NASA are helping the Supreme Court judges in drafting this judgment to the point of knowing which officials will be indicted? To us, you know, the first person, and that's why if you've heard us speaking in our rallies, the person that we have so many questions for is Chebukati, because he was a returning officer for the presidential election, and it is this election that went wrong. Out of the 6 elections that we are conducting on 8th of August, it is only one, the presidential election, that went wrong. So the person who bears the greatest responsibility, not only because he's IBC chair, but also because he was the presiding officer that day, is Chebukati. Instead of giving us answers, all we are seeing is a memo here, a memo there, asking these officers to step aside. I think we are disappointed, but we are practical people. We understand the challenges that do exist right now. We know that an election has got to be done within 60 days. IBC has given us a date. So we say, okay, let's meet them. They've called for a meeting of all stakeholders this coming week. We'll raise our concerns with them. We hope they'll listen. But unlike, we are worried to some extent when we hear the kind of language that our colleagues in NASA are using, where they point out specific officers in the institution, yet nobody knows the full judgment. How do these guys know that it is, for example, the Muhati they were calling out for, Kasait? You know, when you give names, you begin to question.
So where did these names derive from, at least from the NASA side?
You see, Vicky, you know, we don't need to wait for the Supreme Court judgment. Already the Supreme Court has given indications of how the judgments will be. They have already told you that the election was not conducted according to the dictates of the Constitution. They told you that there were a lot of irregularities and illegalities. So I don't know what you're waiting for.
Now I'm coming to that point. Though, if you haven't read the full ruling and you're giving names.
I agree, but you see, reaching at that point, they are officers who are responsible for conducting the election. No. It is a fact that, just a minute, it's a fact that Chiloba was the CEO of IEBC that has been indicted for conducting a shamble election. It is a fact that Chebukati was the chairman. Now you can see here, Jubilee is trying to defend the secretariat because they know those are the thieves who stole the election. They know very well. No, just wait. You see, if you see Jubilee defending the secretariat, those are the people who stole the elections for them. We are not defending Chebukati neither. We are saying everybody on IEBC must come clean on the role they played in the last election, whether you're a commissioner, whether you are working in the secretariat. But you can see very clearly that Jubilee is trying to defend the secretariat. And we know those are the people who stole the 2013 elections, they stole the 2017 elections. This time they were caught in the Supreme Court, unfortunately. And I can assure you that we are not going to have proper elections in this country so long as the same officers are going to conduct the elections.
So why can't both parties agree with the Commission and the Secretariat going home, if that would solve this issue?
We are ready for that.
You know, Victoria, let me tell you, one thing NASA is good at is raising generalities. But when you go to the specifics of the generalities they're raising, they go mum and absolute silence. You've just asked him a very simple question, that Honorable Junet, these names that you gave out the other day, how did you know that it is these specific officers that have been inducted by the Supreme Court? Instead of answering such a simple question, you start saying Jubilee stole the election. We need to be honest with ourselves.
I think the senator is living in another country.
There is no problem. Junet, one second. I give you your time. There is no problem, Junet. If you reveal to us that you've already read the judgment, it will help this country to a great extent, if you knew that already you have proper information, you know that you will indict Chiloba and certain officers. Of course, none of us vindicates IBC and says that this election was conducted conclusively in a free and fair manner. But what we disagree with mostly is the kind of direction that has been taken, where blanket condemnations are just being thrown at at IBC, and you are being told so and so is responsible, so and so is responsible, instead of being told the person that messed is at this point. For example, let me give you a good example. The returning officer from, is it Nyando constituency, that were told had to be looked for by police for 2 good days. Why should you have such officers? If you were to raise such issues with us, those are the things that we'll be going to raise before IBC. The returning officers from Nyali and Likoni, you know, that presented falsified documents. Those are the issues that when you go before IBC on Tuesday, we'll be raising and say, we cannot go to a fresh election before such people are brought to book, you know?
Yeah, do you want to respond?
Yeah, I want to respond. You see, those returning officers he's talking about were employed or were picked by certain characters who are their bosses at IBC. They were not picked by Jubilee, neither were they picked by NASA, unless he employed them. But the person who employed those returning officers must take responsibility. And the person who is in charge of that department is known. The CEO is Chiloba, the other person is Immaculate Kasait. Now, we are not saying that we don't know what's going to come out of the judgment, because we don't know whether, you know, we are not going to attack the judges the way they are doing, because we respect institutions. When the elections happened in 8th, it is the same Jubilee that told us go to court. We told them, no, we want to do mass action. They said, no, go to court. We went to court. When we got a ruling, they said, oh, you pocketed the judges. You see, it is speaking from both sides of the mouth. And now, they want to shield the IBC now, so that they can conduct for them the same elections they conducted for them in August. We will not accept that.
Now, Jubilee is saying a lot of the qualms and issues that NASA is raising is delaying tactics because they want a power-sharing deal in the end.
Absolutely, that is what they're looking for. I don't think these people
first,
are ready for elections.
Let me tell you something. First, this thing they're using of Nusmukati and power sharing. The genesis of that matter is again a stolen election. In 2007, my presidential candidate won hands down in the 2007 election. They refused to leave office, the way they are refusing now to leave office. Now, instead of the country burning, that time we told them we can share so that the people are not continue being killed. Your people.
That is Kibaki. We're talking about
no, it's the same thing. No, it's the same thing. You are the same group now.
No.
You are the same group. Now, they refuse to leave office. We decided to share power with them. If there is somebody who wants to smukati this time, it is them. Because they know that they stole this election, the Supreme Court invalidated the election, they don't want proper election again. They want to maintain the same characters, the same people, same way. And then, you know, they expect a different result. That's madness. If we maintain and do the same elections with Chiloba, Kasait, Chebukati, I don't know who, we will still have the same results.
Okay, and speaking of which, because there are definitely issues within the IEBC. This is a story we ran earlier this week when a memo said to have been written by the IEBC chair, Wafula Chebukati, to the Commission CEO, Ezra Chiloba. In it, he demanded that action be taken against the 2 individuals who created the account and made the entries. The leaked memo raising questions on some of the irregularities that occurred during the election and which may have led to the Supreme Court nullifying the presidential election. Andrew Cheng reported on this story. Take a look.
The 3-page memo dated 5th of September and addressed to the CEO Ezra Chiloba has 12 questions to which the chairman Wafula Chebukati is demanding answers. The oddest is that an account created in the name of the chairman by 2 individuals, Paul Mugo and Boniface Wamai, was used to make nearly 10,000 transactions in the IEBC system without the consent of the chairman. The ICT director, James Muhati, instructed the duo to create the account, and the chairman wants Chiloba to take action against all involved. In the memo, Chebukati wants to know why results from more than 10,000 polling stations were sent as texts only without accompanying Forms 34A. The stations with the missing forms have more than 4.5 million registered voters. He also wants to know why 595 polling stations refused to send any results for the presidential election and why 682 polling stations had an equal number of registered voters vis-a-vis the rejected votes. The memo also touches on the KIMS kits that were used to identify voters and transmit results. The chairman wants to know why some KIMS kits were assigned Orange and Airtel as their service providers, yet they had no coverage in those areas. He also wants to know why the KIMS GPRS features had been switched off from the 5th of August. Before the election, IEBC had indicated that the gadgets would be relaying information back to the Commission every few hours. This, however, appears not to have happened. Chebukati wants to know why there was no validation of voters after they had been identified by the gadgets, and how many voters were allowed to vote after being identified through other means, and why. It has emerged that IEBC spent 848 million shillings buying satellite phones to be used in areas without network. Chebukati wants to know why these phones failed. He also wants to know why printing and scanning machines bought by IEBC were not availed or refused to work. One question which was even asked in the Supreme Court was the security features of the results declaration forms. Chebukati wants to know what happened to the forms with security features which were printed by Al Ghurair and had been witnessed by a due diligence team that went to the firm's offices in Dubai. Chebukati has also demanded to know why Chiloba issued a separate memo, giving a stand different from what the chairman had announced after the judgment of the Supreme Court on the 1st of September. Andrew Ochieng, NTV.
So several questions coming out of that story, the leaked memo from the IEBC chair. What do you make of that memo when it came out, Honorable Junet?
That's precisely what I was talking about. The memo written by Chebukati, which has raised very important and grievous issues, is addressed to Chiloba. That's why I was saying Chiloba is the CEO of the organization. He has to take responsibility. He has officers under him he has assigned to do those functions. They must take responsibility. Senator here is telling me Chebukati is a good man. He can conduct for us a free and fair election on 17th. I can't buy that story. You can't even tell school children that kind of nonsense.
Let me explain what happens here. If I try to piece these things together, and I think the truth is not further from what I'm about to say, that when we voted on 8th of August, if you happen to have listened and followed keenly through the proceedings that were before the Supreme Court and the mistakes that IBC made, is that by 9th of August, these guys had realized that they had lost the election. So what do? They come up with a plan so quickly and reach out to people and friendly officers within the IBC to either make so glaring mistakes and present documentation, because we told each returning officer was given documents that had these security features. But then a returning officer because you follow through a very specific pattern, you realize that all these constituencies that form 34B had problems are constituencies that are within NASA strongholds. Therefore begs the question, could there be a possibility that these guys may have compromised some of these officers and they know something? And that is why, right now, according to them, they want to protect Chebukati, who was a main returning officer. He's a person that we should be asking all these questions instead of saying, go for Chiloba alone. What logic are you using, Junaid Mohammed, to decide this philosophy of saying, because I've seen your leader speak, I've seen Raila Odinga speak since the other day, and all they're demanding is that we want Chiloba out, but Chebukati can remain.
Your response?
My response is this. You know, Vicky, when you want to lie, sometimes you even require to think a lot so that you can get a good lie. You see, we can never protect Chebukati. If there's somebody we are annoyed with more than anybody else, is Chebukati, because he is the returning officer of the presidential election. Right. He is the man who declared Uhuru Kenyatta the winner.
Yes.
Remember, we were not planning to go to court. It was a decision that we made later. If we were planning to go to court, the way he's saying we'll have cooked figures or forms, we don't have that kind of access to IEBC the way they had. They had insiders there, like Chiloba, like Kasaid, like Muhati, like Paul Momai, you're hearing, Paul Mugo, Sujui Momai. Have you heard of any name that resembles the NASA's name?
Which ones are your officers in this IBC? Give me a minute. Because you know, he appears so keen. He knows certain officers in IBC. So which ones are from NASA?
I'm just profiling for you the thieves that who are working with you in IBC.
So who are the code conspirators, the NASA conspirators in IBC?
I'm just naming for you the thieves.
Because if you know certain people who are working with Jubilee, so who are your guys in IBC?
When NASA and Jubilee meet with the IEBC next week, what are you planning to achieve, at least for the two to move forward with the IEBC? What do you want out of the commission in preparing for the elections?
As for NASA, our issue is very clear. We want a credible team that can conduct a free, fair, transparent, accountable election. We don't want anything short of that. We don't want anybody who can help us. We have the people. We have the numbers. We have realized that elections is not about campaigning. It's not about strategy. It's not about planning. It's about IEBC. We had more numbers than Jubilee, but we ended up having less numbers than them because of Chiloba. because of Kasait. So why should we go run around in the country looking for votes when we know the computer will steal our votes? Why should we do that?
Let me ask Junet a very simple question. You know, on 8th of August we had 6 elections. Just by general statistics, Jubilee won 5 out of 6 that have been declared. We have the highest number of MCAs, the highest number of women representatives, members of National Assembly, senators, governors, conducted by the same IBC. How could it be possible that only one out of these 6 elections was won by NASA? If you for sure have the numbers, who are these people who are electing MCAs in Jubilee but only voting for Raila Odinga? Who are these people who are voting for Jubilee senators and governors but electing Raila Odinga?
That has been the question. So where is the proof of numbers, at least from the national side?
You know, I just have a good answer.
He has just told us.
I have a good answer for him.
Yes.
The petition, the period to file petitions ended luckily yesterday on Friday.
Yes.
There are over 20 governors who have been petitioned. Over 20. More than half of the number of governors in the country. Almost close to 100 members of parliament are in court. Half of the MCAs are in court. Half of the senators are in court. What are you telling me? That's the most...
That is farther from the
truth. No, it is in the papers.
No,
today's paper.
So it's yet to be seen whether
this is the most symbolic. You know, look at this. We have 13 governors or 15 who won at 54%, just like the president. Were they sitting in the same place? Or were they sharing the same voters? Number 3, there are people who went to the polling stations, as has been proved at the Supreme Court, who only voted for their president and nobody else. He didn't vote for
clearly explained.
Just a minute. They said it is from prisons.
Yes.
And prisons has only 4,000 registered voters. Now, these people have been caught pants down this time. And we will not allow them to put it on. What we want this time is Kenya for the... You know, it's not about Raila Odinga. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the people of this country. For once, we must have proper election. Just a minute.
Okay.
Where we are going to have a winner who wins resoundingly and a loser who loses convincingly.
You know, there's something. I wonder.
Senator, really quickly before I move on.
I wonder where Junet was when this case was being presented at the Supreme Court, because numbers were never part of the discussion. I listened to all your lawyers do their presentation, and it was all about a certain system wasn't followed, which returning officer was supposed to sign, an agent did not sign this form. There was absolutely nothing about numbers. They were even asked and challenged in court to present a specific one out of the 40,883 polling stations where Raila Odinga got, say, X number of votes, but it is only this that were counted. You could not present even one polling station. So numbers is not on the table. If it's about numbers, Jubilee has the numbers, they won by 1.4 million votes. The only problem, the reason why, and this is why we are so mad with the judges of the Supreme Court, the reason why we have been sent back to a fresh election is because we are told a certain procedure wasn't followed. The form was supposed to have gone to who first, which agent did not sign, the agents that you made to disappear. That's a problem that we have with this country.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If you catch a thief in a house, do you ask him how many bags of maize have you stolen, or you ask him how did you access the house?
So this is an argument of numbers versus the process.
There was no discussion about numbers at the Supreme Court.
You must know.
Decided at least by the judges at the Supreme Court.
The judges decided because of technicalities.
No.
Okay.
That is a part of the judgment we don't agree with. Because at the heart of democracy, it is a voter.
It is about the process, and it is how the thief accessed the house.
It is about the voter.
Let us leave it right there. Let's leave it right there. We'll be right back. Let's take a short break here on Decision 2017. It's getting heated. Keep it right here on NTV. We'll be right back. right, welcome back. You're watching Decision 2017. Still with me in studio are Kericho Senator Aaron Cheriot and Suna East MP Junet Mohammed, sparring over the issue of the Supreme Court and whether this was an issue of numbers or a technicality in the process. What do you make of that?
You know, the reason why we are totally disappointed with Maraga, let me tell you, Victoria, at the heart of democracy is a voter. The question that is presented before Kenyans on every election year is, who do you want to be your president? Who do you want to be your governor? And so long as the voter made that decision, and there's clear evidence and proof that they made that decision, nothing should be stronger than that. And that is why even I agree with Raila Odinga to the extent that on Monday, when he was at the swearing in of Governor Joho, he said it so clearly that there is no way that 7 people can sit and decide over the and overrule a decision that had been made by 15 million people. Only for him to change tune on Wednesday, the same day that Junet started changing tune and saying, we'll accept the verdict of the Supreme Court. Whatever wind they had gotten off, nobody knows. But so long as the voter made the decision, he went to the polling station, put a tick, whether for Ukuru Okot, Jirongo, Shagalala, or Uhuru Kenyatta. That should have been where we went back to. But telling us to go back again as if no decision. Do you know how much we are having it become a struggle to explain to the voter why we are going back to them again? Because they're asking us, what is the problem? We voted and we know who we voted for.
You know, there's something I want to remind the senator. Senator, this country does not belong to Jubilee.
Neither does it belong to us.
No, don't answer me. I've given you a time. I was listening to you. Listen to me.
No, I'm just reminding you.
This country does not belong to Jubilee.
Neither does it.
We have to agree. Oh, I agree.
Okay.
But the way you are putting it looks like it belongs to Jubilee. First, you must know that this country is governed under supreme law called the Constitution.
Yes.
It is the Constitution that created the Supreme Court.
Just a minute.
Junet. Just a minute. I want to remind you. The sovereign power
belongs to the people.
Now,
there is no way a designated...
Let's let Honorable Junet just respond quickly.
Okay. The sovereign power you are seeing is exercised through
delegation
by the people directly. And
delegated.
Yeah, you have a delegated responsibility, but the people can exercise their sovereignty directly.
I agree.
The Supreme Court is a creation of the Constitution.
I agree.
It's not a creation of Jubilee.
I agree with
First,
you.
we have to agree with that.
I agree with you.
Secondly, the Supreme Court is an institution that is there to function for the people of Kenya. And the people who voted, and you are talking about numbers, are not only Jubilee people. Even NASA people voted in that election.
That's true.
And the regulations of all the conditions of the election, stealing was not part of it. So when you steal an election, the only place that can remedy that is the court. That is why we live as a society together, because there is an arbiter called court. So when you steal the way you have stolen my election, the only place I need to go is to court, or else to kill you. Now that I have not killed you, I have gone to court.
There's something.
Listen, my brother. Now the court has decided and made a verdict. The same court that made Uhuru Kenyatta president in 2013. We accepted and we said we accept, but we don't agree. We never fought anybody. Uhuru ruled us for 4 years with your brother called the deputy president. Now the same court said that there were irregularities and illegalities. The same court that put them in power. Why is it different now? Why was the court so good? Listen, why was the court so good?
You haven't answered the question on why Raila at first said that the court would go against the will of the people, and then soon after said...
You see,
because they know what they did to the judges.
No. Raila was talking about the context of the ruling of 2013. He was not talking about the ruling of 2017.
Junet, stop
listen,
fooling us.
Listen to his statement properly.
He was not preempting the ruling?
No, he was not.
He was talking
How do you preempt a ruling that you don't know what's going to be? Even in 2013.
So why did he change his mind on Wednesday?
No, he did not change his mind.
He changed his mind and said, I'll accept the verdict.
Can I tell you something? If they ruled against us, we were willing to accept the ruling. We'll have said, we don't agree with them, but we accept. We'll wait for 2022. That is the way civilized societies live in the world.
Have we behaved any different?
Very much.
Okay, we have to bring this conversation to a close.
Have we behaved any different?
You have gone berserk. You're
almost
killing that Baraga guy.
We have said,
my friend.
We have said Justice Baraga. We do not agree with you.
Until to the extent where the head of state
can we bring this conversation to the here and now?
Fix the Supreme Court.
Can we bring this conversation to the here and now?
Because
it's Honorable Junet, because we heard Raila appeal for funds yesterday.
Yes.
People are asking, is the NASA campaign broke?
You see, the best campaign in the world is funded by the people. These people, we know where they're getting money from.
Where?
Me and you, we can imagine.
Where?
So, you know, what happened in Eurobond.
But Juliet, as a close confidant
So what is the financial status of the NASA campaign right now?
It's very liquid. We are very ready for who financed our campaigns in 2013, 2007.
These ones.
Who did? Asking your supporters, the supporters, asking your supporters to finance your campaign is part of the election. If you go to mature democracies like America, the campaign of Barack Obama was financed by people, ordinary people of America.
How much has been raised so far since the appeal was made yesterday?
No, we will do that mathematics on Monday.
He's a main accountant.
Yeah, we will share with Kenyans. You know, we are a very open society. We are using Safaricom, which is open. We will account for the campaigns. On Monday, we will tell, or Tuesday, we will tell Kenyans we've raised this much from this account. But you see, Jubilee have their pockets are deep.
Victoria.
Speaking of, I have to ask you, the Senator, because people are asking about that 200 million that was raised by the cards during the nomination process.
Yes.
Was that money used
in
the nomination process?
Of course it has been used to fund our operations. The point that I wanted to say is that there's nothing wrong with NASA asking for money from their supporters. That is very much in order. We did the same. We had dinner at Safari Park and we raised money for our presidential candidate. The problem is when you're raising money to people who have a history. You know, these guys went before Kenyans and asked for money to pay teachers during the teacher strike. That money has never been debited to their accounts. I don't know whether it is the same money that they used to buy. You have never paid. Socio, whom you've nominated. No, I think that's why you are rewarding.
Ask the board, then ask the chairman.
I think that's why you are rewarding.
Let me ask you
something. We're running away.
They raised money again. It never gets. I want to assure Kenyans that this is a pyramid scheme.
No.
Raise money to NASA at your own peril.
Let me put it very clear.
We need to bring this conversation.
Let me put one point clear.
The
people we are appealing to raise for us funds are our supporters. Our party members. We don't want any money from Jubilee supporters. Please
stop calling your supporters.
And even the fire bob that was sent by Moses Korea, we are returning it back. We don't want
stop calling your
supporters.
Thank you so much, Honorable Junet Mohammed and Senator Aaron Cheriot. Thank you so much. We will be here all evening to continue this conversation. Let's take a short break here on Decision 2017. Much more ahead, including.
I thought if I tell my husband.
Welcome back. Now, alcohol and substance abuse has become a common problem across the country. Apart from having a brother who struggled with alcohol addiction, Elizabeth Koimet came across many others who struggled with the problem during the stint at the Teachers Service Commission. A teacher by profession, Elizabeth decided to relinquish her job as the Director of Administration at the Commission and open up the Serenity Place Treatment and Counseling Center. Her pursuit to help others get back to being productive members of society is the subject of this week's Women and Power.
Elizabeth Koimet retired from her job as the Deputy Director of Administration at the Teachers Service Commission, where she had served for 5 years.
And part of my duties was attending to discipline committee meetings. And I remember during one such meeting, one teacher came. She was accused of habitually deserting duty. And I remember when she came in for the hearing, she was drunk. And in fact, she walked into the room and we all turned up our noses because we couldn't stand the smell. This teacher was already quite an advanced in age person. She was about 54 or something like that. And I remember we interdicted her. And actually thought, instead of interdicting her, because she had been interdicted quite a number of times, maybe the best thing to do is to sack her.
This move gnawed at Elizabeth, who wondered what kind of a future was awaiting the sacked teacher and how many others struggled with alcohol and drug addiction.
But I remember going home that night and feeling very disturbed about what had happened to the teacher. Because if she had been accused of deserting duty and, you know, sleeping in the trenches and, you know, all that, what was she supposed to do after this? The sure thing that was going to happen to her is probably even death. And this disturbed me for a while. And I thought, this is a psychological problem. And probably it needs a psychological, you know, answer or a psychological solution.
In 2013, and at the age of 50, this mother of 7 decided to retire from the teaching profession and set up the Serenity Place Treatment and Counseling Center to help rehabilitate drug and alcohol addicts.
I thought if I tell my husband about it, the first thing that will happen is he will start telling me, you are not able to do this and so on. So I did it secretly. And he only came to learn about it later, after I had even taken in some 2 clients.
One of the things which was also creating a critical thing is that we had also left the house, we had renovated our own house, and we have not lived in that house. So she wanted to use it as a center and also as a headquarters for a job. So we found also the challenge, but finally we agreed because we found that this was a noble cause, because there are many people who are involved in drug abuse.
5 years later, over 200 people have come in and out of the Serenity Place Treatment and Counseling Center.
As soon as the client comes in, we have a detox program. Once that detox program is over, then we do 90 days. We have integrated some kind of faith-based program so that our clients get in touch with the higher power.
Could go up to almost 5 days without sleep. So you start doing alcohol helping, you will end up sleeping. But in a way it does not affect you. So you are advised, as advised by my doctor, to do some medications, drugs which help you overcome that situation. And I believe I'm a recovering addict. I haven't tested alcohol since I left here.
With 2 rehabilitation centers in Nairobi and Nakuru, which she runs with the help of well-wishers, Elizabeth believes her efforts are just a drop in the ocean compared to the crisis that is alcohol and substance abuse in the country.
In some places, and we have seen the statistics are rising, some youths have nothing to do, and because of lack of employment, many of them have become hopeless. When they become hopeless, they resort to addiction. They resort to addiction to alcohol and other substances. I wish the government could do something, even support a venture like ours and the other ventures that are coming up.
For Women in Power, my name is Gladys Gashanja.
All right, let's take another short break here on Decision 2017. Sports news coming up next with Edmond Nyabola.